How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines, welcome back to Plazas and Promenades, and welcome back to the soon-to-be city of Nerdholm. Towards the back half of our first episode, we decided to sit down and get to work on our first pedestrian zone, which, at the time, I said looked pretty good, and I stand by that. I think this looks good, not because I've built something great here, but because I think this is one of the most beautiful buildings in City Skylines, and as I said in my Everything New in City Skylines, Plazas and Promenades video, I happen to think the texture work on the pedestrian roads, or streets, is kind of fantastic. So I stand by what I said. I think this place looks pretty good, but it could look better. And what I'm thinking I want to do is tear out all of these commercial buildings and create an actual little town or city square, some kind of main square in here with plazas and parks and lots of nice detailing and all of that good stuff. But there are some things we have to do before we can get there. And the reason there are things we have to do before we can get there is because it turns out pedestrian areas are very expensive. Cedar Mole, which we're probably going to rename, and if you do have any ideas for what we could call it, do let me know in the comments. It is an area of 3,884 cells. Maintenance for this area is $2,427. That is a lot of money. For this early in the game, that is a lot of money. So we need to be making more money. And, well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're just going to continue to build Nerdholm and increase the population. But before we can do that, we need to deal with some of the issues that are going on. Specifically, a whole bunch of these houses are complaining that garbage has piled up. And if we go in and take a bit of a look, that's a lot of garbage cans out front of the manor residence. In fact, I would be willing to bet that the manor residence is probably going to be abandoned in the not too distant future unless a recycling truck comes around here. And looking at it, well, there's one right here. I don't know where you're going though, and you are almost full. So we need to take a look at the garbage situation, which is particularly bad right now. Garbage processing is, I would say, just below half of the red right here. So let's get ourselves another recycling center, and it can go, we'll turn off anarchy first. The recycling center can go right about here, which is, I suppose, what's the word I'm looking for? It's symmetrical with the other one. It's just opposite in the same place on the, or away from the avenue. And what I also want to do is go and put the 2-lane road with median right in front of this guy so that the trucks can't cross over, which gives us a nice little bit of traffic control. The trucks have to come in from this side, they have to go out on this side, and up here, they go out on the left and go out, or come in, sorry, on the right. Speaking of which, we can change you back into a 2-lane road with sidewalks because we don't need the median on that little part right there. And that should, hopefully, solve quite a few of the issues that we're having with garbage piling up. Although it is worth mentioning that we're still in the red. We are still very much in the red, but I think we'll be okay for now. And I suppose while we're waiting, we can go ahead and take a look at some other things. And looking at water, well, water availability is getting a little bit rough. So let's go ahead and drop another water tower right about there. It's getting a little bit close to the pollution, but it should be okay. And that should push us quite nicely up into the green, and it does. Sewage, however, is also getting to be a problem. So let's grab ourselves a second eco inland water treatment plant, and we'll just drop it right about here. We can connect it just like so, and now the sewage problem, or the looming sewage problem, is no longer a problem. So everyone has water, everyone has a toilet, we'll put things that way, and everyone should, in the not too distant future, have their garbage collected. And one simple look at Middle District, and it seems like I was right. It seems like even though we're still in the red for garbage processing, we're doing okay. I think the trucks are keeping up with it because they are relatively close to all of this residential and commercial zoning. Now, speaking of residential zoning, there is some pretty substantial demand for residential zones. So let's go ahead and spend a bit of time just extending Middle District. And I think we'll do this in a very simple way. We'll go for symmetry. So 10 units here and 10 units there with however many that is, 60, and then 20 back. And then all we need to do is go 20 units right about here and 20 units right about here with something in the middle right about here going the entire way across. Now this guy, well, this guy doesn't need to be a bridge. Let's get that fixed very, very quickly. And then all we need to do now is go ahead and extend Middle District, because if I don't do this, what's going to happen is we'll have a bunch of beautiful, admittedly quite beautiful, European-style houses building. I'll realize that that's happened and then have to go and delete all of them by upgrading them into the mid-century modern houses. We also have to get these pipes right here. So we'll run those underneath all of these roads on the outskirts. And now we are ready to go ahead and just cover this entire space in residential zoning, which is hopefully going to result in a little bit of money. It would be nice. It'd be nice to be making some more money. Now, while all of that's building, I want to turn my attention to this roundabout because I've realized I could make it a tiny little bit more efficient. Because with plazas and promenades, we got our hands on these 6-lane roads with medians. So what I can do is upgrade this 4-lane road with median and this 4-lane road with median. And then if I go into Traffic Manager and I go to the lane arrows, if I go ahead and control-click on this intersection, we suddenly have a left turn lane, a straight-on continuing lane, and a right turn lane. So essentially we have a dedicated lane for every direction you could go from this part of the intersection. And if I go to the other side, we can do exactly the same thing. So now traffic is hopefully going to flow just that little bit better. And to make sure that it does, let's just confirm that the priorities and all the various things are set up properly for the roundabout. Let's make sure this is prioritized properly as well, which, ooh, I slightly messed that up. Let me just fix you. And this side is fine. I think this guy is gonna need a little bit of love as well, just to make sure it's all functioning the way I want it to, which is, it now is. Long story short, this is better, I think. Having some dedicated lanes to turn, I think, is the way to go. And speaking of lanes and making things a bit more efficient, let's make things a little bit more visually pleasing as well. Let's go into Node Controller down here. And I want to click on this intersection, and I want to use this tool right here, the Make Ends Straight option, or Control, Shift, and S. And it just lines things up a little bit. If I do the same thing here, it's just a little bit better looking. And I like that a lot. And I can come down here and do the same thing. I can do the same thing right here as well. In fact, I can do the same thing for all of these intersections with the highway. And I just think it looks pretty great. I've got to be honest. I like it a lot. I'm also wondering, can I control click here? I can. And we now have a dedicated turning lane. If I do the same here, we should have, and we do have, a dedicated turning lane. So that should make things flow, I want to say, a little bit nicer. Although we do have the first tailback that I've seen right here, which is a bit of a concern, but we'll see how traffic goes in the long term. This might just be a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a learning experience for traffic coming onto the roundabout. They've got more lanes than they've ever had before, and they've got these lovely new sort of chunky intersections. They're very basic intersections, but they're chunkier than they were before, so looking at it, I think we're okay. I don't think there's anything we need to worry about. Ooh, now I was waiting on this happening. It turns out we are very low on power. We're consuming 63 megawatts. We're only producing 50. Now, what's interesting about this is we're doing this as we're approaching Boomtown, which is going to give us another area. It's also going to give us public transport. But before we get there, I would like to look into this power situation, because if I'm not mistaken, I have set the budget to 150% for power. And if I want to get myself another coal power plant, well, I need another $10,000, which isn't gonna happen for a little while. Although in saying that, if the population was to grow to 2,600 people, we would get some money for achieving that milestone. So if we can last until 2,600 people, which it looks like we're going to, and I think we absolutely are going to, and we did, we just happened to get, I don't know how much money, maybe $30,000? I've got no idea. Regardless, we can go and build ourselves another coal power plant, because we need 5,000 people for oil power. So we'll put some coal right here. And I think what I'm going to do, actually, is go in and change out this road in the middle for another one with a median, because then any trucks that are wanting to deliver to this plant have to come in on this side, and if they're delivering here, they have to come in on this side. So again, it's sort of a way to just ever so slightly control the flow of traffic. And obviously, it also deals with the issues wherein we didn't have any power. Now, interestingly, we are not making all that much money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the power budget down by about 25% to 125% in total. Now, that is, of course, going to generate less electricity, but it should save me a little bit of money, and it should thus generate a little bit more money for the city, which is fantastic. And while we're waiting for that to happen, let's go ahead and turn our attention to Cedar Mole, because it is still costing $2,427, and I hate to say it, but it's probably about to start costing a bit more, because I want to use this place to deal with some of the demand that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to build another set of pedestrian streets. So 10 units right here and 10 units right here and straight down to there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side as well. Something a bit like this. Now, I should probably mention that I have done a little bit of terrain editing. You can probably tell because this is now very, very flat. I didn't go too crazy with it though. So we do still have slopes like this, which I don't necessarily love, but I'm going to leave them be for now. Because what I want to do with this space is I want to bring these pipes out here, and I want to get rid of these ones because, oh wait, no, we did need those. Never mind. I'll tell you what, we'll keep those right about there, and we'll keep that one right about there for now. Because my thinking is we can very simply just do this, and we can do this right here. And that's going to deal with some of the residential demand, and that is still part of Cedar Mole, which is now up to $3,000 in expenses. So this might not be a good idea at all. This might actually be too expensive for me to manage. But I'm just curious to see how things go. And to be quite honest, I really do want to redesign this central space. So let's go ahead and just tear all of this out of here. All of those buildings need to go. All of these guys can go, these guys, and you. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to go ahead and bring some of the, what is this? The small sandstone pedestrian street with grass over like this and over like this. And then I'm getting rid of that guy because this right here can be a city center, a main square, a town square, whatever you want to call it. And what I can do with this is something a little bit like this, and then connect it in the corners with the street that has the trees down the middle, because that gives us a single tree in each corner. And I think that looks pretty good. I've got to be honest, I like it a lot. I think it's a really cool little design. Now, if we wanted to, we could go a little bit crazier with this. We could go into the parks and plazas category. We can go to pedestrian area plazas, and I could put something like a small food truck plaza in here. Or I could get the, what is this one? The statue plaza. We could get 4 of these if we wanted to. We could try and get the glass roof plaza as well, which admittedly would probably look pretty good on this avenue. But I think what I'm going to do for now is just see about maybe doing it custom. Because we could. We absolutely could. We could combine some fences. We could combine some assets. We could combine the surface painter that I have right here. We could go ahead and paint all this if we wanted to. Which, in a way, I am tempted to do. I'm tempted to say that this section in here could potentially be painted. Although for now, let's not get carried away, because for now, we still need to make some money. And we have a lot of industrial and a lot of commercial demand. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's actually go ahead and extend these pipes right up to the edges of this district and down to that edge of the district right about there. And let me see if I can fix the zoning on this road with just a little bit of terrain smoothing. Nothing too crazy, but just enough that I can actually get full zoning on all of these roads. So let's see. If I was to update you with a bit of anarchy, that's actually just made it worse. Okay. We might have to level this out. Okay. This right here is good enough for me. So let's get some zoning right here, and let's get some zoning right here. And what we'll also do is get a bit of zoning right across here, and I guess right across here. Although looking at it, maybe not right up against that avenue, because I don't want them building right on that avenue. Although I am curious, can I? I can, in fact, get the carports as well. Okay. That's very exciting. Is this? No, that's not what I'm looking for. You're not really what I'm looking for either. Okay. I mean, we could sneak a couple of carports in here. We could do something like this, where we have those guys, and then we do bring this zoning right up to here and right up to here. So we're not going to have any buildings other than the carports on this avenue. We're just going to have them on the pedestrian roads, and that's what we're looking for. So hopefully that is going to contribute to a decent bit more money. And while that's going on, we kind of need to turn our attention to the fact that we now have death care. And as such, people are, they're dying in quite a few places. So for now, let's figure out where we're going to put a cemetery. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do, since I don't really see me getting too close to this highway just yet, is I'm going to come down here and we'll use this road right here with the sidewalks. We'll come 10 units, we'll go 30 units, and we'll go 10. And I'm wondering, can I get a cemetery out here? I absolutely can, which is perfect. It is $8,000, which is quite expensive, and I am going to put it on this side just because it's a little closer to the intersection. But that now gives us death care, which means we're not going to have people just waiting to be picked up from wherever they've keeled over, which is preferable. You know, if you're going into a store, which is admittedly what this is, good old coin laundry, you know, you don't really want to see the other customers just sort of, you know, in the middle of the room. So we'll get them picked up and get them thrown into the cemetery, which I imagine is going to be very busy because I think a few of these deaths have been sitting around for a while. And then while that's going on, I guess we should take a look and see what we can do in terms of making this place a little bit more interesting. Now, like I said, we could go in with a whole bunch of terrain painting and stuff like that, But what I think I would rather do is get my hands on this small fountain plaza and maybe put 2 of them right there. My only worry is whether or not that's blocking the view to City Hall. But I've got to be honest, the way the trees are kind of continued through here from this road, it's kind of cool. I think it's a cool little detail. I don't know about these. They might be a little too much. We'll leave them for now, but they might end up being a little bit too much. And I think actually what we can do is paint this middle section at the very least, because it is going to essentially be one big plaza. And doing that, I think, actually looks better. I think having the grass around the outsides looks a lot better. So let's see what else we can throw in here. Of course, we have the small ice cream stand plaza, which does bring a beautiful amount of color to this space, but I'm not keen on the trees. I've got to be honest. I don't love the fact that it has the trees. The small food truck plaza, also a wonderful amount of color, but again, I'm not sure about the trees. But what I could do is use some of these decals to introduce color for myself. So for example, I could line this guy up a little bit like so, and I could say, give me a nice pink tile right there, which has admittedly caused some problems with the terrain, but that's okay. We'll go for a nice pink tile right there. And I think actually what we'll do is go for a few of these guys. We'll go for 4 of them. We'll make one nice big pink square, just like this. I think that's a pretty good lineup right about there. And if I made that a little bit bigger, it would be the same size as this guy. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into move it. I'm going to select decals. I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to try and put it right in this corner, right about here, because I think that looks pretty great. Now it is overlapping with the sandstone a little bit, so maybe we move it like this. So the very tip of it is right in the corner. And maybe we copy it and we go ahead and rotate it, and we'll put it right down here as well. So something like this, rotate it again. We'll put it something like, I suppose, this right here, and one more quick rotation, and we can put it right about there. And I think that's actually not what I was looking for at all. Let's see. This is how that one should be facing, which it isn't doing. I've slightly messed up the rotation on these, unfortunately, but I guess that's okay. I do want to border them with something. I'm not sure what to border them with or what to put on them, but I do kind of like the bright pink squares in the middle of all of this. Although I will say there's something to be said for bringing some sandstone in here and putting that weird yellow and red thing on the corner. It's, again, playing into the idea that this is extremely bright and vibrant, but I like it a lot. I really, really do. So we're going to just copy this to all of the corners, just like so. And we'll take a bit of a look and see what it looks like from a distance. And honestly, I don't mind that. I am kind of wondering if I could get some grass into some of this space, because I suppose what would probably help is going into the terrain painter and removing some of the weird terrain that's going on out here, because we don't really want it to be like that. Although the game is reluctant to do that, so I might have to find a way to fix that. It looks like I can just potentially paint over it. Ooh, no, my grass is a little bit screwed. That's interesting. Okay, can I put this in here? Okay, so what is this? This is field. Okay, so we can put the super bright fields in here, and I guess that's going to be how we're doing grass for the time being, because actual, oh, it's ruined. That's what it is. Yeah, actual grass doesn't want to work in here. So I guess we'll just go for fields for now, since again, actual grass doesn't really want to behave, which is fine. I can deal with that. Let's also go ahead and put is it ruined that's in here? We could do either. I think we'll just do pavement because it does look the part. So just cover all of this in pavement. And I do sort of like this. I don't love how bright this grass is here, but to be fair, I've got a mod that's being weird. There's not a lot I can do about that. And I suppose I can just go ahead and put one of the sandstone pedestrian streets with grass through the middle. And that does give us a little bit of grass in the middle, which is what I'm looking for. So I'm quite okay with this. Again, the terrain's getting a little bit weird, but we'll deal with that. I do think, though, this entire space happens to need some details. So let's go ahead and get ourselves, I suppose, an ice cream stand. We can get some food trucks. We can get another ice cream stand. There's a lot of stuff. There's sculptures. There's so much stuff we can use to detail this space and just make it look really, really great. I'm actually really excited about this. And so, just like that, we have a bit of a weird city center. It is bright pink, it is bright yellow, and thanks to the fields that currently surround it, it is also bright green. There's a lot of things going on there, but it's certainly interesting. I've also not looked near the rest of my city in the last, let's say, 20 minutes that it took to put this together. Is it on fire? It isn't. It's actually doing okay. We have a good amount of demand for residential zoning. We have a bit for commercial. So I'll tell you what we can go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and measure the distance between this point and this point. It's 90 units. So if I go to here, is that 45? It is. And is that 45? It is. I can essentially build another district if I really want to. It would be narrow, but I could do it, and I'm slightly tempted. And we do have $51,000. So let's go all the way up to here, which I think is in line with that corner. It is. And let's just build a very, very narrow little district right here. If we go 11 units and I do this, we're going to have a gap of 1 tile between all of this, which honestly, I'm kind of weirdly okay with. I've got to be honest. I'm okay with that because what I can do here is I can start introducing pedestrian roads to all of this. We can start to get this place to be a little bit more accessible to foot traffic, which admittedly, it already is. There's already a good number of people walking back and forth from here up to the city center, which I've got to be honest, with depth of field off, the game looks a little weird. I always have depth of field on. This slider right here, if I turn it on, you can see, everything in the distance now gets super blurry, but actually, that just maybe a tiny little bit of depth of field? No, you know what? I kind of weirdly like it without it. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. I'm a really big fan of depth of field. When I was in college doing TV and film production, whenever we'd make movies and stuff like that, I always went with the lenses that would give you a really shallow depth of field, and my webcam, my face cam, whenever I very, very rarely use it, has a lens that has a very shallow depth of field. It looks great, but again, I never really use it all that much, mostly because the types of videos that I do, I don't think really need a face cam. It was an interesting purchase. Regardless, we have some pedestrian paths here, which will hopefully get used relatively quickly. I thought this one behind all the buildings would look pretty great. And so I suppose at this stage, what we can go ahead and do is bring some pipes into this space. We'll just go around the outside, around the outside, around the outside with all of them. And that will give us perfect coverage for this space. And what I'd also like to do, to be quite honest, is I'd like to get a roundabout in here, because I think the roundabouts are relatively important. So that is how many units there? That's 7, that's 8. So we want to go to here, and we want to go and say 8 units, and that's another 8 units right there. We want to go 8 and 8. We want to go 8 and 8, and another 8 and 8 right there. And then we chop all of this out, and we can go ahead and change a couple of things. So priorities for 1, all the way across here, we need the priorities set up. And then we need to say that this is also a priority. And honestly, we could probably get away with setting this road as a 6-lane road with the lane selectors set up properly as well. And that should cover us pretty well. So we have the roundabout, we have this tiny little district, and that'll hopefully be okay. I don't think anything is going to be too crazy for the time being. The population is only above 3,000. So we should manage. And I suppose what we can go ahead and do... Ooh, I just realized I don't have a road in the middle here. Let's very quickly go ahead and fix that just for the sake of symmetry. I think the road needs to go right about there, which is only going to serve to get rid of some people, but that's okay. And I guess what we could do is just have these roads in the middle, and we'll have these sort of larger sections for pretty much exclusively housing. So I am going to be breaking my rule of usually not putting housing on avenues, but I think since the demand is so high right now, we kind of have to. And I suppose what I can also do is put a little bit of commercial down here, just as a way to get some more of that zoning in here. And maybe, no, we'll not put it up at the end. I think what we could do, though, is maybe right in the middle. Just a little square of commercial zoning right about there. Maybe even something like, say, let's see, something like this might not be a bad idea, just to get some commercial into the heart of the district. I like that. I think that works. So that's what we'll go for. And I guess now we just wait for it to build. I suppose now is as good a time as any to mention that I thought it would be good if this district didn't have the mid-century modern style. Just to introduce a little bit more color when you're looking at things from above, and just to differentiate this from Middle District, this just has the default style, which I think we have European buildings. I'm not actually too sure what the style is by default on this map, but, well, actually I can confidently say I'm pretty sure it isn't European, because if it was, we would have those factories that I absolutely adore. Regardless, it doesn't really matter all that much. We have some new buildings coming in. We have the population growing. We're at $46,000. We're making $2,500 every week, I want to say. Yes, that is weekly income. So at this stage, I think what we could probably do is go ahead and expand our industrial space back just a little bit to give people more jobs. But more importantly, I want to look at public transport. I want to get some buses in here, and I want to get them in here as quickly as I possibly can. So let's go ahead and get ourselves, well, we could go for a normal bus depot, but honestly, I think I prefer the biofuel bus depot. So we're going to go ahead and build that. I'm going to say, let's see, can I build it right here? I can build it right there. And that's going to be where we get all of our buses from. And what I want to do is I want a bus line that goes around Middle District and has a stop somewhere in the middle. I want a bus line that goes around Empire Hills, which admittedly is going to be, well, they might be silly bus lines, to be quite honest. Maybe what we do is just, to start with, one big bus line, because keep in mind, a lot of this is going to get demolished. So one big bus line that takes you from Middle District to Empire Hills to the unnamed district and then up into Cedar Mole, which is going to be slightly tricky because obviously Cedar Mole at the moment, well, it doesn't have any bus lines. It doesn't have any bus roads. So we might need to start playing around with the idea of some bus lanes inside of our main central, pedestrian zone. So let's take a look and see what that would look like. Now this is going to mess again with the terrain here, but I'm very curious to see. Oh, it got rid of my fence. Oh, it would get rid of my fence, wouldn't it? Oh, it would. Oh, that's slightly painful. Okay. Gonna have to rebuild that. And apparently, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't like that, does it? Oh, that's a problem. Okay. Never mind. That's interesting. We can't do this. At least not the way I want to do this. So I guess my plan here isn't going to work at all. The bus roads are just not cut out to do what I want them to do, which is fine because, let's be honest, we can just go in here and set up something relatively basic, which is my middle name, relatively basic. Let's just go for something a bit like this. We'll start right here. We'll circle around and stop right about there. So we have 2 stops in Empire Hills. In fact, yeah, that is exactly what we're going to do. Admittedly, looking at this, we might want to start on this side, going this way, and then we're going to come across. We're going to go to this spot in Middle District. We'll go to this spot. We can come around and we can essentially just cross the entire district like so. We can come up into this district. We'll go for a stop right about here. We'll go for a stop right about there. And, well, maybe what we'll do is have a stop in each corner. A little something, something like that. And then for this place, we're going to stop here. And we're just going to come back because that's about all we can do. And that is going to be our bus line. Now, I do want to customize this a little bit because, oh, I can't. Never mind. What do I need for the super bendy bus? I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess that's fine. Let's make the line color. Let's go for sort of a nice sort of pinkish reddish color right there. And I suppose we get to see whether or not this is successful, which there's immediately a decent number of people waiting right there. And I imagine there's going to be a decent number of people waiting elsewhere as well. So let's just take a look down here. Yep, we got people gathering. We got people gathering here as well. We have people gathering up here as well. Do we have any over here? We do. What about by the center? We don't have as many as I thought we would, but I imagine those numbers are going to grow a little bit. And so now, with some beautiful pink buses moving around Nerdholm, I think we can safely say that that's going to do us for today. We still need to get up to 5,000 people so we can be a busy town. That is going to start unlocking some more unique buildings. It's going to give us more specializations. It's going to give us roads with trees on them, which, frankly, I'm very much looking forward to, along with the asymmetrical road as well. It also gives us oil power, a police headquarters, gives us some more decorations as well. It gives us a lot. It gives us a whole lot of things. Good Lord. Okay. I'm not going to complain about any of this. This is all a lot of good stuff. And I'm also curious, do I have tier 3? I do. We could get the tax office, which, let's be honest, the tax office would kind of look great in a pedestrian area. So that is something we're going to have to get our hands on as well. But that is going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.